Welcome to the Fantasy Forecast with Grindberg and Biggs. He is Grindberg. I am Biggs. We are at the end of week one of the NFL football slate, and we're here to talk about that. Producer,
let's go.
welcome to the Fantasy Forecast with Grindberg and Biggs. He is Grindberg. I am Biggs. This is the first of our 3 episodes this week covering week 1 and week 2. This is our week 1 recap show. We will have starts show. We will have sits show. Also, join us on Thursday night after Thursday Night Football for Points After Thursday, where we will take your starts and sits questions. And Breakfast with Biggs actually coming back to your screens this coming Sunday at 8:30 a.m. Best Coast time, 11:30 a.m. Pacific or Eastern, leading into Spilled Coffee, which is the second best starts and sits show on the interwebs. Love those guys. I actually got to get a question in driving through the misty mountains of Oregon on Sunday morning. And one of our teams is undefeated and in first place in their division, and it's not yours, Mike. How's that feel? How's that feel?
What are we talking about?
What?
What are we talking about? What division?
The AFC West.
Ah, there it is. Fair enough. Yes, yeah, of course. Yeah, you got to put a little bit of a jab in there. It is true.
I'm a Raiders fan. I have to take my victories where I can get them.
There you go. Yes, absolutely. I love it, Biggs. Now, a couple of big storylines, obviously, headed into this week. Week 2 now. I mean, week 1 is pretty much in the books here. It's the recap show. There's 2 big storylines that I wanted to talk about, and maybe that'll bloom some other conversations, if you will. So let's get into this. Let's get into the storylines. This season, last night was incredible. Well, I mean, I guess it would have been Sunday night for you viewers. Ravens and Bills, 81 fantasy point. That was complete madness. This season may have just kicked off, but Buffalo, heart stomping. 41-40 comeback over the Ravens. Looked every bit like a playoff classic. Josh Allen reminded everybody why he's an elite fantasy asset, torching the Ravens for 424 total yards and 4 touchdowns, including 3 scores in the final 7 minutes and 27 sections. I looked at Keon Coleman a couple times. He looked a couple of people's ways. So really interesting outcome there, especially later on the other side of the ball. You had Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry. They both put on a show of their own, combining for over 460 and 5 touchdowns. Zay Flowers, DeAndre Hopkins, they both look good as well. So Biggs, my first question to you, after watching that game, Josh Allen dropped nearly 40 fantasy points in a game where he ran in for 2 scores and targeted 6 different pass catchers in the red zone, with Keon Coleman emerging, James Cook getting consistent volume, and Allen clearly still willing to take off near the goal line. Are we staring at another 45 touchdown QB1 overall season from Josh Allen?
It's week 1, Mike. There are lots and lots of storylines that are out there, including, Geno Smith being second in passing yards in the NFL. Pump the brakes. Josh Allen is good, and he is one of the top 3 quarterbacks in the NFL, especially in fantasy. He's the reigning MVP, which some people disagree with. This is the kind of production that we can expect from him on a week-to-week basis. Derrick Henry, same thing. He is him. He hasn't lost a step. You watched him outrun cornerbacks. He's still 255 pounds of just granite and runs through people. Lamar Jackson continues to carry the same skill set. I was disappointed at the absence of Mark Andrews, but he'll get into the game plan at some point. One of the funniest things was I was watching the game with former Green Day drummer Uncle Jimmy, who coined the term second round reach around. And about 7 minutes left in the fourth quarter, the Bills were down by 15. And he said, "Oh, come on, it's over." And I looked at him and I was like, no, it's not over. And Josh Allen did Josh Allen things, and the Baltimore defense completely crumbled. And it was a fun game to watch. Fantastic Sunday Night Football game.
Yeah, it was awesome. Now, on the other side of the ball, we saw, Lamar Jackson, 280 passing yards, plus another 60 plus on the ground, dishes out 3 total touchdowns. Zay Flowers looked good. DeAndre Hopkins, what a catch he made. And of course, Derrick Henry doing Derrick Henry things. This offense put up 40 on the road in prime time and looked dangerous, with Henry clearly still explosive. Zay Flowers looking like a real legit wide receiver one, and Hopkins flashing red zone chemistry. Is this the deepest and most fantasy viable supporting cast Lamar's ever had?
Probably. Especially considering the fact that Mark Andrews really didn't get into the game plan, and they still wound up putting up 40 points and having pretty stellar fantasy performances. So, yeah, it was quite a night, and we know what to expect from the Bills and the Ravens.
Yeah, I can't wait. Maybe that could be a playoff matchup for those that are looking forward to the playoffs already. But let's move on to the next storyline that I felt like needed to be.
I do want to point out that when we were doing the napkin league, the player that I said not to leave your drafts without was DeAndre Hopkins, and he finished so far as wide receiver 31, which puts him in the flex. So as a last round pick, couldn't do better.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about another game that was pretty shocking for a lot of people, I would say. So Daniel Jones, donned his Colt uniform. Might have sounded like a punchline this offseason, but after torching Miami for 272 yards, 3 total touchdowns, the joke's over. Indianapolis came out with purpose, and fantasy managers were treated to the kind of balance you'd dream of in week 1. Jonathan Taylor, 93 total yards, Tyler Warren leading the team in catches, and Michael Pittman finding the end zone. The Colts looked competent, cohesive, and confident. 3 words we haven't associated with that team in years. And as for Miami, what a disaster that was. Tua turned it over 3 times. The backfield was a mess, and Tyreek and Waddle combined for just 70 receiving yards. There were more penalties and big plays, more questions than answered, and somehow less fight than we've seen from a Mike McDaniel offense in week 1. Is any indication this Dolphins team isn't starting slow? It's spiraling. Now, Biggs, got a question, about, Daniel Jones. He looked great, kind of great, goes, 22 for 29, not too shabby. So what are we looking at here with him? 2 rushing scores, gets Pittman involved. Tyler Warren leads the team in targets, add in Jonathan Taylor. So be honest, are we buying this version of Daniel Jones as a weekly starter, or are we just having to see it after week 1 and what happens next week?
That's a great question, and again, it's week 1, so there aren't a whole lot of answers yet. It is the crumbling Miami Dolphins. So we don't know if they're going to bounce back, and we don't know how much of that was positive for the Colts. I would be tempered with Daniel Jones. Now, going into the season, there was a quarterback debate in Indy with Daniel Jones and Anthony Richardson, and everybody knows the physical upside of Anthony Richardson, and everybody watched Daniel Jones flail in New York. The one thing that we've always known about Daniel Jones is he does have that escapability, and he has had a good fantasy season in the past. So I'm not gonna go out and say that it's the real Daniel Jones, and I'm not going to say that it's not the real Daniel Jones. We can probably expect this from him again in the future, and we can also probably expect a complete and total breakdown performance at some point. So that's where Daniel Jones is at.
Yeah, it was a pretty great looking game. Honestly, he looked pretty competent in that offense, and it'll be really interesting to see if this Michael Pittman was just a mirage, or is he back to that ascending wide receiver that we thought about a couple of years ago when he broke the top 12 in wide receiver ranks here. So interesting situation. But on the other side of the ball there, Biggs, there's a lot of question marks now leaving in Miami here. It's not looking good there. They face planted 33-8 across the board. Tua looked shaky. Offensive line, it fell apart. Tyreek and Waddle were ghosts for the most part of the game. Is it time to panic if you're holding Dolphins weapons in redraft, and specifically if you're sitting on Tua or Achane or even Tyreek? Do you ride this out, or are you looking for trade windows before things get worse?
I write it out. One of the things of note is that the Colts had a very underrated defense. I play in a home league with a couple of Colts fans, and last year I was looking at their roster and I asked these guys, when you look at the Colts offense or defense on paper, what, like, these are names, these are dudes. Why are they playing so under their level? And he said Gus Bradley. Well, Gus Bradley was given his walking papers, so they have a new defensive coordinator this year, and you saw them absolutely befuddle and shut down Miami. So similar to what, the Chargers run game against the Chiefs, sometimes defenses just do their thing, right? The Colts defense is very good. I don't own Tua in any leagues because I don't trust him, but Tyreek will, and Waddle either. Tyreek will come back. Devon Achane will come back. We have to remember they're in a division where they get to see the Patriots twice. They get to see the Jets twice. And we watched those defenses. The Jets couldn't stop Pittsburgh. Patriots couldn't stop the Raiders. There are better days ahead for Miami Dolphins players, but Tyreek and Achane were the only ones that I was owning in that offense anyway. What's his name?
Ollie Gordon.
Ollie Gordon
Yeah.
too. But
yeah, I was hoping to see a little bit more from there, but when you're playing from behind, and Tua was seeing stars, obviously being replaced to help his safety out, and we'll have to see what happens there. That's an evolving situation. It was kind of like a steaming, boiling over from last year, and it's already continuing to boil over here. So we'll see what that next stage goes for the Dolphins. Now, any other big games to note here that you might want to touch base on? We had a huge game between the Jets and the Steelers. That was pretty not what people expected from that line. I mean, it can crush the over by probably about 25 points there. So what are your thoughts on that game? Anything else? Any other games you'd like to mention here, Biggs, before we move on to our waiver wire?
I was expecting the Raiders and Patriots to look more like the Steelers Jets game. It was pretty wild to watch Aaron Rodgers with the Steelers and Justin Fields with the Jets, flipping teams from last year and absolutely going at it. And Chris Boswell kicking a 60-yard field goal. That was just beautiful. A couple of notes. Christian McCaffrey, fully in RB1 mode. Detroit looks like they're in trouble. Green Bay has a fantastic defense, and adding Micah Parsons to it makes them they're probably going to finish the season with the lowest EPA per play of any defense. That's a good thing. Lowest EPA in yards per play. And the Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery thing, I tried to say all offseason that Jahmyr Gibbs wasn't going to run away with that job. They handed the ball off to David Montgomery a ton, and that's what we're going to see. And there was another game. Carolina, awful. Jacksonville, back.
You think the Jacksonville Jaguars are back after that showing? Playing an awful Carolina team, and
Travis Etienne is the dude.
Yeah, I think Travis Etienne is the dude for sure. That game raised a lot of question marks to me about Trevor Lawrence again. I'm hoping that he looks better. Obviously with the new offense system coming in here, but he did not look great, and I'm worried about that. The run game looked awesome, which we knew was going to happen in a Liam Coleman offense, and we knew that was going to spread the ball into the running back's hands. So we both got a little bit of Travis Etienne shares, and I'm glad we did stuff them in our pockets at this point.
And I want to reiterate from our starts and sit shows last week, It's week one. Let's not confirm our priors or get too far ahead of ourselves. We drafted guys for a reason. If you look at who the top wide receivers were in week one last year, it's not the guys that finished in the top. Everything balances out. So don't freak out. Don't go crazy. You drafted players for a reason. It's a lot of people, especially in redraft, really don't make big roster decisions until after week 4. So if you drafted Tyreek Hill in the 3rd round or the 4th round, wait until week 4. Maybe start somebody else, but don't drop him. Don't make a trade. Don't do anything like that until the season is a month in.
Yeah, that's a fair assessment.
And with that, let's get to our waiver wire ads.
Let's do that, Biggs. Okay, let's get you started off. Let's start at the quarterback / tight end position. We kind of broke them down into 3 groups, wide receiver being one, running back being another one, and then we kind of grouped the tight end and quarterback position like we did last year. So start us off with your QB tight end waiver wire pickup this week.
So it's going to be Michael Mayer, and he's not a waiver wire ad for me per se because I have him absolutely everywhere because I wanted to handcuff Brock Bowers, and Michael Mayer was getting catches and he was making plays when Brock Bowers was on the field. We saw that coming. It's part of Chip Kelly's offense. We knew that was kind of the way that it was going to go down. But when you look at everything, yesterday, obviously Brock Bowers had 8 targets. Michael Mayer had 4 targets, 4 catches. Brock Bowers is dealing with a knee issue. Pete Carroll wasn't willing to say anything in the press conference today about his condition. Essentially said he's day-to-day, which means that they're monitoring his activity level. They're not going to make any decisions on whether he's going to be available next Monday or not. But the fact is that Michael Mayer needs to be on your roster, A, just in case something happens to Brock Bowers, and B, he's gonna add some points anyway. He's gonna add a touchdown at some point, and if you have a tight end who gets you 40 yards and a touchdown, that's 11 points from the tight end position, which is, that's startable tight end. That's in a reserve role. Now, if he substitutes in for Brock Bowers, he's looking at another 2 or 3 targets per game. That's putting him into an elite level. So I would recommend rostering Michael Mayer as soon as possible. The other one, and because it's QBs and tight end, I didn't want to split them up. If Jackson Dart is available in your league, go grab him because Russell Wilson is not long for this league.
Yeah. I was floating between Jackson Dart and my guy here at the quarterback position as far as somebody to pick up. And I think, yeah, I agree with that. If you got a really deep bench, Biggs, get Jackson Dart on there. It's not going to be long before he takes that offense over. And there's also already been some speculation here. Dable didn't even say with confidence that Russ was going to start week 2. So there's already some.
He did say he was, but maybe not confidently.
Yeah, exactly. So it wasn't as confident as I'd like to have seen from that. But a guy that is starting and a guy that is, on a new team, new offense, but he still has that sneaky fantasy upside. And I'm talking about Daniel Jones. We mentioned him earlier in the segment here, and he cracked the top 10 in 2022. And it had nothing to do with, 300-yard passing games. But in his Colts debut, he carved up the Dolphins, 272 yards passing through the air, 2 rushing touchdowns, 29.5 fantasy points, which making him a top 3 quarterback in week 1. While it's not a sell it and forget it fantasy starter, Jones is now in an offense that lets him move, and that's what matters. He's a mobile quarterback. And he's got the upside of maybe getting, if he starts the whole season between 500 and 800 yards rushing. We've seen it before. You give him weapons like Michael Pittman and now Tyler Warren, and they have a solid run game. Yes, he does draw the Broncos in week 2, so I would not start him. But he's, a great streaming option for the future here. He's got the Rams and the Raiders in week 4 and 5. It makes him a strong streaming option and a borderline must start in super flex league. So, Daniel Jones is a guy that I'm willing to pick up, and if he continues this pace, he may be a starter on a team that I faded quarterback in, and I did that a lot this year. So a Daniel Jones pickup is definitely on my radar. 7 rushing attempts, 2 rushing touchdowns, 76% completion percentage, 13 in rushing yards per game among quarterbacks last season, and some soft matchups coming up. So looking forward to seeing what Daniel Jones can continue to do in this offense. Like we said, it's just week 1. Let's not get over our skis here, folks. But the signs are pointing up here for Daniel Jones, and let's get him in on our teams.
Geno Smith is another one. He had 365 yards passing yesterday against the other day against the New England Patriots, whose cornerback, their defensive back group looks pretty good, and they play a lot of man coverage. Geno was able to beat them with his arm, and there will be some higher scoring outputs from the Raiders moving forward. Geno will have 300-yard games, couple touchdowns. So he's going to be a viable option this year. And if he's available and you have room to add him, he's another one to think about.
Love it. All right, Biggs, let's get into your running back pick here for waiver wires.
Oh, that's
you're just all over.
No. You're all over the show sheet, and it's okay. I can adapt. I can adjust. I'm adaptable. Just to be fair to the viewer, Mike had himself going first in the QB tight end section. Then he had the wide receivers. Then he had the running backs. He made me go first in the quarterback section, and now he's switching to running backs. But look at me. I'm adding DJ Giddens. He's another guy that I drafted all over the place during draft season because Jonathan Taylor has dealt with injuries before, and DJ Giddens is in a good position to take over in case he gets hurt. Well, guess what? Jonathan Taylor got hurt, was pulled from the game. We don't have a lot of information going forward. It's not that DJ Giddens is now the starting running back of the Indianapolis Colts, but he did have, I want to say 12 carries. He had a bunch. So yeah, just in case, go out and get Giddens and see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, he's a great handcuff. He came in, got some carries. Love it. I love that call, Biggs. And these are the type of pickups that we're looking for later on in the season when guys get banged up, and running back is a great position to hoard on your bench because unlike wide receiver, they have an injury in front of them. They are getting thrust into pretty much a starting role where the backfield would probably be there unless a committee is shared. But, as far as a wide receiver goes, they just, get put down onto the depth chart. And these running backs are where it's at here. And another guy for me in running back situation, guy came off, and that ambiguous backfield, is probably clearing up a little bit more now with the Quinshon Judkins news of him signing, but we can't dismiss what we saw yesterday or on Sunday from Dylan Sampson, 5'8", 200-pound, and he just took over that backfield. Sampson didn't ease into his NFL debut. He broke through the front door. The former SEC Offensive Player of the Year, he led Cleveland in both rushing attempts and receptions, operating as the Browns' primary early down back and early down receiving threat as he took that game on near the end. So a rare workload from a rookie, let alone a 4th-round pick with Jerome Ford. He did not look good, and Raheem Sanders getting some usage as well on short yardage snaps, but Sampson was the Browns' back, consistently moving the change. He saw 8 targets, 7 of them on early downs, showcased the shiftiness and space, and looked like the most dynamic option on the field. Yes, Quinshon Judkins, he's going to return soon, but here's the key. Sampson is locked into a pass game role. Either way, his explosiveness, his vision, and receiving skills will keep him on the field, making him more than just a short-term fill-in. He obviously is connected to Joe Flacco here. I mean, Flacco's been a check down merchant for a while, and even if they go towards a rookie near the end of the year here, I think there's still some upside for safety blanket for a young rookie quarterback being able to dump off passes to a guy like Dylan Sampson. So I think he's going to have some standalone value, even with Quinshon Judkins coming in a couple weeks. But next week it could be his lion's share again. So folks, get Dylan Sampson on your lineup and get him in your squad.
I have him in a league where my boss invited me to join his friends and family league, and mentioned to everybody that I was an analyst, and then I went out and scored the most points in week 1, and they started chirping at him in the chat. Why'd you let this guy into the league? It was fun. Yeah.
So Dylan Sampson is the guy. Yeah. Turning heads, shaking bombs. So let's continue on. Let's get into our spotlights. Sure, we'll call them our spotlights. Let's talk about our wide receivers here, bigz, and a couple big names, or big college names, if you will, that are former first round draft capital guys making their way in here. So let's hear about yours first.
All right. First one I want to talk about is Kayshon Boutte. Kayshon Boutte of the New England Patriots. We, again, not to get too far ahead of ourselves, but Stephon Diggs was the big free agent signing. Everybody thought Kyle Williams had a great camp and was going to be a breakout star. Demario Douglas, Pop, has been a target hog in that offense. But against the Las Vegas Raiders, Drake May's safety blanket was Kayshon Boutte, and he finished the game with 8 targets. He had 103 yards receiving, and at some point, those numbers are going to start turning into touchdowns. So go grab Kayshon Boutte. Grab your booty, everybody.
Yeah, I mean, he's a guy, he's not so far removed from being touted in, he played with Jamar Chase, at LSU, and and Malik Neighbors and stuff. So he has been around that type of talent, and he was ahead of those guys from what I gather. So looking like after some injury happened to his ankle or something like that, I think it was that.
He's a post-hype guy. So as he was coming out, everybody was like high on Kayshon Boutte, and then he didn't really do much in camp or in the season for a couple years. This year, he put it together, and he and Drake May have a good relationship on the field.
So we'll see how that flourishes. And there was some alarming, things that went down in that Patriots Raiders game that made me have some question marks about the Patriots offense. But hopefully that is a sign of some growing pains and some things to come here. They were favored to win that game, but the Raiders did come back and make a good case for themselves and took that game pretty handily. So I love what I saw there, and hopefully Drake May can have a bounce back game here next week, and we'll see how that Kayshon Boutte and Drake May connection continues to flourish, because he was a guy highly on my waiver wire list as well here, bigz. So my waiver wire wide receiver spotlight. Let's go. Well, not only did America learn who Quentin Johnston is, so did an entire stadium in Brazil in a surprising week 1 upset over the defending champs, my Chiefs, the Chargers. Third year wideout lit up an international stage with 2 touchdowns, 5 receptions, and a clear message. This breakout is finally happening. It started at the end of last year, and after 2 years of inconsistency, trade rumors, and questions about his role, Johnston didn't just look serviceable. He looked explosive, confident, and more importantly, like Justin Herbert's go-to guy in the red zone. He's got a physical body, and Keenan Allen came in and ramped things up, but he's slowing down, and this rookie is going to find his not this rookie, this third-year guy is going to find his footing here. Johnston had some key moments, including that game-sealing score late in the fourth quarter, 79 yards and 2 touchdowns in week 1. after, being a strong end of last year. He's up there with, I think in the last 8 games, he has performed as a top 5 wide receiver. So that is nothing to be scoffed at. 5 red zone targets over his last 2 games. 0.31 avoided tackles per reception last year, second among all wide receivers, proven he is dangerous after the catch, 2.8% touchdown rate versus zone, the best among all wide receivers last year. So there's some things that were really pointing us in that direction, Biggs. And you had him pegged earlier in one of our shows as a guy that you should stash, if you will. And I'm glad I listened to you because I have him on a lot of lineups. And if you would have listened to us, then you may have him. But at this stage, he's a guy that should be looked at and being on your roster at this stage. He's gone from trade bait to top target in week 1, and he's going to continue to quiet the doubters that think he's a body catcher. So don't let someone else in your league win him. Grab him before the rest of the league realizes Brazil was just the beginning. So let's go.
I haven't looked at his ownership rate on ESPN, but I'm sure that most of the people that own him are watchers of this show, because I said this, like, Quentin Johnston is for real, y'all. Don't be scared of Trey Harris. Don't be scared of Vlad McConkey. Like, there are going to be enough balls to go around, and Quentin Johnston is going to get some of those balls.
Exactly. That's awesome, man. For week 1 in the books, essentially, our waiver wire is in set. Our lineups are looking strong, and we're going to be headed into week 2 starting sits on our next episode here, followed by PAT. So a lot of jam-packed action here on FSAN. We got a lot of things going on, and a lot of live shows hitting the stream now. Biggs, do you want to talk about your big show on Sunday morning?
It's PAT first.
Yeah.
So PAT Thursday night, come join us. Then our start show, then our sit show. Are we going to do an injury show?
Potentially.
There might be 4 shows this week, and then breakfast with Biggs, 8:30, 11:30 Sunday morning. Come have a cocktail with me. Tyler sent me a text today that he likes his eggs sunny over easy. So come hang out with me 8:30 a.m. on that's West Coast time, 11:30 Eastern. Hang out with me on Breakfast with Biggs. Tell me how you like your eggs. And also go to fantasysportsadvice.com and get your merch.
Yeah, Forecast15 is the discount code for 15% off your purchase. So be sure to use our code and enjoy the week here. A lot of movement here. Hopefully you guys are going to be early on your waiver wire priorities and getting them the guys that we outlined on your squads if they aren't already. So
6 shows if we do, because the D Pulse is there too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's so many shows.
A lot of coverage.
So many shows.
We do the work so you don't have to. So continue on, folks, and we'll see you on our next show.
We hope you win.
Hope you win, everybody. Later.
We are here. FantasySportsAdvice.com, offering the best fantasy sports social media platform. Why join endless Discord communities or the trolls of Reddit? Fantasy Sports Advice is a community designed to help you win with 24/7 support. Go to FantasySportsAdvice.com and become a pro member for unlimited access. Again, go to FantasySportsAdvice.com today.